So let me guess, you're constantly finding yourself stuck between cutting and bulking. And your fitness journey just seems to be either hardcore diet where you're trying to shred up, or then switch into eating as much as you can to try and fill those t-shirt sleeves, leaving you feeling skinny, and then fat, and then skinny, and then fat again. And the cycle just keeps going and going and going. And you cannot make your mind about which one to commit to. So what if I was to lay out the exact 3-phase approach that you do need to be taking? It has helped me transform hundreds of my own clients from skinny fat to lean, jacked and back in shape. And why you need to be doing them in this specific order. And how I bet you've probably never actually done phase 2 and 3 properly before. So here it is. So if you're constantly finding yourself stuck between cutting and bulking, feeling skinny fat, ultimately you need to ask yourself the question, which one digs the deepest? Which one's niggling in the back of my mind the most? And I guarantee 99% of the time, it's the fact that you cannot get rid of the moves, the love handles, the belly flab. It is that excess body fat that you've got on you. That's the one that's really digging deep. That's the one that's really hurting. When you look in the mirror, it's affecting your body confidence, the way that you see yourself, and the one that's going to see the biggest visual, quickest transformation. And even if you don't necessarily feel that now, I guarantee what happens when you start bulking. Every single week that you're upping the calories and that weight's going up, you're constantly worried that you're getting fatter. Concerned that this just ain't shifting, it ain't toning up. And that's because of this key, crucial fact. If you are upping your calories and your weight's going up, you cannot get more lean, you cannot tone up, you can't lose body fat while you're bulking up. But if you're shredding up, if the weight's going down and you're trimming up body fat, you can gain some muscle simultaneously during that phase. Therefore, phase 1 of your journey has to be committing to the shred, is committing and seeing through a complete fat loss phase. And yes, as the weeks go on, there's going to be times in your head where you might be feeling a little bit skinny because you see the weight going down. But by committing to the shred phase first, while losing the weight, losing the body fat, you're going to be toning up. You're going to see better definition in the areas that you want to improve. You're going to see faster visual changes in the mirror, which is going to increase your motivation to keep moving forward on that in that direction, on that journey. And if your nutrition's on point with high protein and your training is right, you're doing it the right intensity, frequency, it's efficient, you are also going to be adding on a bit of muscle during that phase. So therefore the definition is going to increase, but you're also going to bring out a little bit of round toned muscle in certain areas as well. That's why you have to see through the fat loss phase. You have to commit to the shred all the way through, all the way to the end, however long that takes. Some people it's a few months, for some people it's a year, year and a half, 2 years if you've got a lot to lose. Typically for most of my clients in that skinny fat sort of range, it tends to last around somewhere between 4 to 7 months. It tends to be in that sort of area of time. This overall fat loss phase, phase 1, can be broken down into individual 8 to 10 or 8 to 12 week sprints. I've talked about this in another video before, so feel free to check it out, sprint method. But essentially it's much easier to go hard for 8 weeks, take your foot off the gas for 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks and then go hard again. Because you'll progress through this overall shred phase, this overall fat loss phase a little bit quicker if you do it in these fast sprints individually. So that's phase 1, you commit to that. No matter, even if you're feeling a little bit skinny and you're like, oh God, I want to bulk up, because if you stop early and try to start bulking without committing and seeing this through, you're then going to still feel a little bit chunky, a little bit flabby, a little bit sort of loose in certain areas, and that's not going to help you commit to the bulking up and the building phase eventually either. And you'll still stay stuck. So you've got to see this through. That's phase 1. Phase 2 is a proper planned maintenance phase. Most guys never do this properly. They're either restrictive diet or just eating as much as they can and just doing like a lazy bulk. There is that middle ground. There is that proper planned maintenance phase. Learning how much calories, how much protein, what portion sizes, and developing the right habits and meal planning, etc., to learn about how much fuel your body actually needs to maintain the weight that you get down to. That's why people are always stuck. They're always going up and down. They're yo-yoing up and down in weight, and then they never stay in shape. They don't commit to this phase properly. You need to start learning, all right, okay, well my maintenance calories is probably like 26, 2800 calories. How often are you fueling up to that specific sort of range? Probably never even fucking tried that before. That's why so many guys see this fitness journey as either like miserable and hungry or just feeling fat and full. There's that middle ground. To be honest with you, in the long term, you're going to spend much more time around this area once you've actually committed to the fat loss phase, because you're never going to be that out of shape again if you actually see it through. This is why the maintenance phase, it's a process in itself. It takes a bit of concentration, it takes a bit of willpower, it takes a bit of transformation of your mindset, because you're so used to cutting your calories down. As soon as you have to bring it back up again in a controlled manner, if you get your numbers right, it's what you need. But for some people in their head, for some of my clients who go into this maintenance phase, it's tough because you're fueling up and purposely eating much more calories than you're used to. So it takes practice, it takes experience. To be honest with you, it takes coaching through these methods properly, having someone like myself in your corner, on your shoulder, reassuring you that you're doing the right things, you're getting your numbers right. But ultimately, during this maintenance phase, after you've finished the shred, your weight will just bump back up like 1 or 2 kilos, and then you'll maintain that, it'll be steady. And that's how you know you're fueling yourself the right amount. That's the maintenance phase. That goes on for a few weeks or a couple of months, depends on your calendar or time of the year, for example. But then after that, you can commit to the building phase. Some guys call this bulking. I don't like calling it bulking because in the back of a lot of guys' head, that's sort of associated with getting fat and being lazy with it. So I like to call it the building phase. You're in proper build mode. You are aiming to put on somewhere around 1.5 kilos of body weight a month. So instead of the shred phase where you're losing like close to 1 kilo a week sometimes, this is a lot slower and it's just a very slight controlled calorie surplus. So again, it's upping your calories again. It's giving you more freedom and flexibility, which is great. Lots of calories to work with, so you can enjoy yourself. You can have a fucking pizza here and there because you've got that much more room and flexibility to work with. But it's also not being a lazy prick and just eating whatever you want, smashing 4,000 or 5,000 calories and just putting so much weight on so fast, because you're going to put a lot of body fat on in that process. Whereas this building phase is very controlled, it takes time, but 6-8 months of a full build mode, you know, you'll be putting on anywhere between 6 and 10 kilos onto your frame. And if you get your training right and your nutrition is under control and you can still enjoy yourself and have a bit of freedom and flexibility, but a lot of that would have been muscle. You know, let's say you started at 80 kilos, you shredded down to 70. By the time you build back up to 78, 80 kilos again, you're going to be a totally different looking 78, 79, 80 kilos than you were when you first started. Yes, you would have put on a very small controlled amount of body fat on during this phase, but you've done it right. So it's a very controllable amount, and it's only going to take then one small 8-10 week fat loss sprint maybe to peel those little extra layers off which you've built. And that fat loss phase after this whole build phase, which you would have done for anywhere between 6 to 10 months probably, it won't take very long, and it'll be nowhere near as long and as much of a grind as that very first shred phase which you're doing at the start of this journey. And that's how it works. That's how those 3 phases go. You go through phase 1, you shred it all up and you maintain it, then you build, then you do a mini shred phase again, and then you maintain it, and then you build, and you keep cycling through until you, well, build up to a size that you're really fucking happy with. Here's the problem. Most guys only get about 1/3 of the way through phase 1 because they don't know how to commit to it properly. They don't know how to do it properly, to plan it. They can't really future pace and program things in sort of a weekly and a monthly basis. They're just trying to do it all as fast as they can, and they get desperate and their mind won't let them commit to it in long term, so they end up like not fully committing to phase 1, and they go straight from phase 1 to a crappy version of phase 3, aka lazy bulk, getting fat, and they just constantly flip-flapping between the two. And that is a recipe for not seeing any changes in the mirror ever. Why you end up frustrated, and why you think that this journey is just either feeling hungry or feeling fat. So commit to these phases properly in that order. See through the shred phase before you even touch the maintenance and building phase, and do those things properly as well. This is what I do on my coaching program with my clients anyway. So it's not easy. It takes time. You know, it's not going to be something that's going to be simply done in 8 weeks. It's going to take 6 to 12 months of committing to this thing long term and seeing it around your social life and your work hours and potential plateaus and things that are going to get in the way of your progress. Life's always going to throw shit at you, so you need to be able to handle it around all that as well, which is why coaching and proper accountability and a kick up your ass when you need it is very important. And it's a reason why most guys on my coaching program are with me over a year, because they know they see the value of seeing this through properly and being guided through the phases correctly, so that in 1 to 2 years time, when they've gone through the whole cycle correctly, they know how to handle that shit long term, so they're good to go off by themselves. Not necessarily like that 6 to 8 weeks which you maybe think you need on a short little sprint program, which a lot of guys sell you the dream in 8 weeks. That's how it works. Anyway, hopefully you found this very useful. Hopefully it gives you a bit of an insight of how your journey works, how you can transform that skinny fat body into something a lot more lean, jacked and back in shape. And it's going to take you months, not weeks, maybe even a couple of years. There is an end to it. There's an end to the misery and the hunger. To be honest with you, the misery and the hunger bit doesn't have to be so miserable and hungry if you know how to do that right either. Like, subscribe. If you've got any questions, comment below. I'll leave some links in the description for my free coaching program if you want something started on for free. If you want to have a little bit of a chat about how my actual paid coaching program with my one-to-one clients, how that works, if you'd like to know a bit more about that, I'll leave a link so you can book a call for that as well. That's it. Chat to you later. Check out my other videos and see you next time.